Good morning, Metalheads Unit. Welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown. And today, we're looking at the latest album from Ringworm entitled Death Becomes My Voice. Before we get started, congratulations to Ringworm. You've been around for 30 fucking years. Bravo! That's a big achievement for any band, and it's an even bigger achievement for Ringworm when you consider that for the first 15 years of their career, they existed almost entirely on demos and split LPs. Not even joking, up until 2001, almost all of their releases are demos and split LPs, and they don't really start putting out a consistent stream of full studio albums until 2005 when they signed with Victory Records. And even in that case, let's be honest, if you are familiar with Ringworm, you're probably most familiar with the modern Ringworm, from when they signed on from Relapse and onwards. And that's not a bad thing, because I do think modern Ringworm is the best. I mean, they've embraced a lot of elements from extreme music. They've embraced influence from older hardcore and grindcore bands and mixed in with their sound. I notice a lot of influence in particular from Napalm Death, particularly on this record, which we'll address later. I notice influence from some of Ringworm's Relapse peers, as well as influence from younger, heavy metalcore bands. I notice influence from Unearth at times in Ringworm's more melodic and, shall we say, structurally sound records, or moments, I should say. Vocalist Human Furnace, and yes, that is his name for those of you unaware, in particular has gotten angrier and angrier with every single release. Like, there really aren't a lot of hardcore and extreme metal vocalists that actually get better with age, but Human Furnace does. The only other vocalist I can really think of is probably Barney Greenway of Napalm Death, maybe Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse, although we might credit that to just really great sound production. And all of this combines to make what I think is Ringworm's best record since signing to Relapse. I mean, from start to finish, this album is an absolute cut to the fucking throat. It is uncompromising, it is unrelenting, it is totally and completely off its fucking meds. An incredibly metallic, dark, brooding, and hostile hardcore monster that harkens to the darkest elements of extreme music while retaining its punk rock essence at the core. Now let's talk about the show stealer first. Let's talk about the main man himself, Human Furnace. From start to finish, he is on fucking fire. In fact, I don't think he has sounded this fucking bloodthirsty in a while, or in general for that matter. It's notable immediately on the opening track, Death Becomes My Voice, where he really does just kind of launch at you like a rabid dog. Like I noted before, a lot of influence from modern Napalm Death and Barney Greenway in those vocals, particularly in the way he manically sways his words around. But he's got his own unique bark. He might be imitating a big dog, but you know, he's still his own bark. He's taken bits and pieces of that bark, made it into his own bark. I'm saying bark a lot. Fun drinking game. Take a shot every time I say bark. I'm not gonna lie, at first I worried that this was going to end up being a heavy-handed record as a result, that he was just going to throw everything at you right away and that was going to be the end of it. But no, that's not the case. He continues throughout the record, and he continues to touch upon a lot of the things that has been common in Ringworm music and brings it to the modern age. Like hypocrisy within her religion, specifically Christianity, has always been a big element of Ringworm's lyrics and in Human Furnace's general aesthetic and approach. And he's using all of this and taking it to new intimate levels, not just through his stunning in-your-face vocal performance, but also through his wild lyrics. I mean, just taking a look at the title track itself, Death Becomes My Voice, there's a lot to dissect here. Take, for instance, this piece, calling out in silence, dying piece by piece, lashing out in darkness to pray for this release. I'm cutting through the marrow, and I'm swallowing the pain, and I'm swallowing the poison that's been coursing through my veins. Later going on to say, cry to your maker, cry to your God, because it is never done. Who is your savior? Who will you be? Leading to one of my favorite and most poignant lines in this whole thing, the razor-sharp incision, I never had a choice. Death is my religion. Death is my voice. There's a lot to unpack here. There's a lot to unpack about his mental health, his physical health, how physical pain is a release for him. He would rather hurt himself. He would rather dwell in darkness and disparity than embrace any kind of religious ideology. He goes after religion again, particularly the grim outlook of heaven and hell and the grim consequences of it on the track Separate Realities, in the verse saying, spiritual decay, lost in this facade, Would you give your flesh away? Would you stand before your God? As I try to imitate, it just all falls apart. Excommunicate to the corners of my heart. And in the opening verse saying, feeling to no one, servant to this disease, no innocent victims, no symbol of purity. We worship the black sun. I keep it locked away. It cannot be undone. Separate realities. Although probably one of my favorite moments from Human Furnace on this whole record is taken from The God of New Flesh, where he paints a very bleak future of planet Earth. Saying, so purify the burning earth. Nothing now is what it's worth. Dawn will bring the burning sky. See the world through devil's eyes. I see the beautiful decay, I see it all will just wash away. We watch the world decline, trade souls for borrowed time, as we keep looking for the stray. Suck the blood from every sown, from new flesh, we kill our own. Man, I know planet Earth is kind of fucked up right now, but Jesus Christ, it's got nothing on Human Furnace's vision of the planet. Like, Jesus, goddamn ever-loving fuck. What a nightmare. I'm really impressed that this man can continue creating such twisted and maniacal displays of extremity and evil through his lyrics and through his vocals. It's very rare, again, that we see a hardcore and extreme metal vocalist getting better with age, but again, that's exactly what he's done. But of course, I shouldn't give him all the credit. The band here is fucking great. Granted, they're not doing anything super crazy outside of what we expect from the Ringworm formula, but that's not really a bad thing, seeing as how the focus is Human Furnace. And the band does a good job of elevating him and spotlighting him and creating great musical chaos to accompany him. Take, for instance, the tracks Dead to Me and Acquiesce, which are just fucking fantastic, dirty, extreme metal numbers. Both incredible sonic spice bags of speed and sludge. Some of the fastest and also most miserable and dread-filled tracks you will hear so far this year. There's also the ferocious Cleveland hardcore spirit of Carnivores and the aforementioned Separate Realities, which is probably going to be a live favorite from now on. I cannot wait to see the mosh pit insanity that this inspires. I'm definitely going to give this thing a 4 out of 5. I think this really is Ringworm at their darkest, their sharpest, their most mature, and their most musically tight yet. They've definitely lost the recklessness of hardcore punk in the last few years, but I'm not really going to argue because, you know, I personally prefer great musicianship. I mean, let's be honest, most of us do. And the heart of hardcore is still there. In fact, it's been elevated, it's been bolstered, it's been polished, it's been made brand new. When it comes to the new wave of hardcore bands we've seen in this last while, we talk a lot about Code Orange, we talk a lot about Turnstile, but really we got to start giving some credit to Ringworm. I mean, Jesus Christ. They're not exactly a brand new band, but their modern sound is elevating them to brand new heights, and they are becoming modern stars of this scene. I would recommend this to anyone looking for a more extreme side of hardcore, looking for a more fully modern metal approach to it. I am curious to see in general what the more modern hardcore scene has to say. I have no idea if this is something that would be fully embraced. It maybe leans a little bit too much into full metal for that. But that being said, that's hardly going to be a complaint for fans of extreme metal, particularly if you're into the more modern works of Napalm Death. I think you're going to find a lot of shit to like here. Even if you weren't necessarily a fan before, there's enough new energy on here that I would say give them another chance, because Ringworm have clearly still got a lot of tricks up their sleeve 30 years later. They're still willing to evolve, they're still willing to change, they're still willing to learn and look at things in different ways, all without compromising the core essence of who they are. That is impressive. Like, that's really quite incredible, honestly. 4 out of 5, a seriously great record. Seriously, check this out. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? And thank you for watching. And thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe to get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately. And you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.